Hey folks, this is Lucid, and we are back. We're going to be talking a bit more about Sauromatia, particularly about pretender design, and this for the upcoming Blitz. We'll do a quick overview of the nation. Basically, it's a nation with a lot of cavalry troops, some of which are sacred. It has access to Hydra landmines, which notably have Poison Cloud, and then Fear on the big guys. They have lots of archery, but they don't have great ways to buff archery. Like, they don't have air and fire magic and things like that. But they do have poison bows, which can allow them to just pelt the battlefield with poison. And then they have good sacreds, but they also have good scales troops, so you can play scales if you want to. And their expansion I would rate as reasonably solid. You can be, especially if you go like the Oreapada, you can have pretty lightning expansion. I haven't really tested Scales expansion too much, because I'm pretty convinced I want to play it with at least a moderate bless. But these guys are reasonably cheap. And at the beginning, you're going to have a lot of recruitment points, but not a ton of resources. And these guys don't cost a ton of resources, and they're reasonably priced on gold. So I think Lancer expansion is probably viable, and you could easily hit 14 with Lancer expansion. Probably hit a good bit higher. Versus Barbs, you don't really want to run in Lancers. Versus Barbs, you probably want to run in like either these guys on Holding Fire, or just a crap ton of Sauromatian archers to just go clear out the Barb stacks, or use somebody with like a hoof, like the heavy Sauromatian cataphracts. So Barbs, I think, are a little tricky. But anyway, it's a nation that can be played scales. You have a lot of poison, which you're going to be dishing out. And there's a strong argument for like a poison bless. Let me click my thing. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? We are going to be doing a rainbow. And I'll go ahead and build it for you here. I have chosen for this playthrough to use the gray one. And part of that's because we kind of are going to want Water and Death. What are the nations we've got in the game? It's a 9-player map, because it's a blitz, so it's not super big. So they're going to be in like a little 3x3 grid. And we've got Niflheim, we've got Vanheim, we've got Abyssia. We don't have any of the flyers, really, like Zabalba or Kalem. We've got Pangea. So there's going to be probably a fair amount of Berserkers with Abyssia and Pangea and Vanheim. So that's going to be kind of annoying. Those are things that are kind of hard to thug through. A bunch of angry idiots running at you, like Burning Ones or White Centaur. We don't have Hinam. We have Niflheim. So there's some kind of super combatant in the nation in the game, but not a ton. But I think when I was looking at it, I was like, well, you can kind of make a justification for all the resistances. Like there's Abyssia for fire, where like if he's fire elemental spams you could be in trouble. Niflheim, you kind of want cold. And then, Vanheim, you can make an argument for shock resistance that you might not need it. I have to look at all the other nations. I think there was another nation that made me like, yeah, I guess we might need shock resistance after all. And then there's me in the game. There's a Sauromatia. There's a Satis too. So I don't think EA Satis can easily do Foul Vapors, but I think they might can some way. It's been a while. Anyway, how I'm going to approach the nation is we're going to basically just do a Imprisoned Rainbow, which I think in some ways is the most generic bless in Dominions right now. And I'm going to be taking the gray one, which gets Water and Death, which we're going to want kind of high. Because I'm going to go for Withering Weapons. And Withering Weapons is going to be okay on ghosts. And it's going to be okay on my Oreapada, who are not going to be tremendously killy. So if I get rushed by Van Heers or something like that, and they come in and they kill all my stuff, well, at least I'll probably kill a bunch of them with withering weapons. I found I kind of want it like at least 6 Dominion. And then I think for scales, I think I was something like this. We went heat, which kind of zapped our income, unfortunately. We went growth, imprisoned. I like luck, and I wanted at least 1 magic. So I think I went something like this. And I was able to get a fair amount of Oreopata, like enough to expand. We'll actually pull it up. But I think this is what I did. For the Bless, we do fire resistance basically in case we run into... Well, there's a few reasons. One is we're going to be probably dropping mass protection or, bark skin, all this other stuff. Be nice to have fire resistance. Next, you can either go swiftness, I think, or major shock resistance. I forget the reason, but I think and I may change it. I'm probably going to go major shock resistance. There's an argument to be made for swiftness. And it may be the better choice. In fact, there's a very high likelihood it's a better choice. I may switch it and we may do it. But depending on how much I think I'm going to need the shock resistance will determine if we do it or not. Now, I'm not going to be putting up Army of Gold or anything, and I'm not going to be doing Earth Blessing, so it's not super important I get it for myself. Because I'm not going to be shock malicing myself very much. So anyway, I may switch and do swiftness, but for now I'm going to go ahead and put in shock resistance. We're going to go ahead and do defense skill and then cold resistance 1. The cold resistance we don't need a lot of. We just need enough to protect us from the fatigue plays. So, and then this will also block the penalty we get if we're in severe cold and like Niflheim's Dominion if we end up attacking him. Next up we have this, and we're going to need reinvigoration, I think. Now, you could go, get 1 less Earth and then pick up Strength of Earth, and I think that would be respectable. I wouldn't judge you. For the thugging applications, though, what I found is you really want this reinvigoration, and part of the reason for that is, this is going to give you 2 fatigue back around, but basically, it's going to be 10 more fatigue for the whole buffing cycle. And then it's obviously going to put you much closer to being fatigue neutral for the actual combat portion. So, anyway, I would say I feel pretty strong about the reinvigoration if you're doing, thugging with these guys. Now, another thing I didn't mention when we were going through it is, I was talking about how these guys can thug and point cast. You can also use them to fluff others, but not have them thug themselves. And that way, the people they fluff, potentially, this guy, this chassis, or a warrior queen or a warrior priestess, they will run into combat after they have been buffed up, and they're not going to have any of the fatigue. But still, even on this chassis, it is nice. I realize this also has a lower threshold for being fatigue neutral. It is nice to basically have that additional reinvigoration. So anyway, that's where we get the reinvigoration. Now, another thing we can do, this is a bit of a late or mid game play, is if we get Spirit Sight, we are a nation with high death that can pretty trivially drop darkness. And then if we get enough of our Witch Kings, we'll get 1 with the Water Death Crosspath, which gives us, at least with Lucid's Thematic Gym Gen, it gives you access to the Death Booster, or to the Death Temporary Gym Generator. So, anyway, you can then do kind of budget castings of darkness, which, that piques my interest greatly. And then for nature, I think not only do you want major poison resistance, I think you also want minor poison resistance. And I have lost Oreopata that I have mixed in with, because the idea of this is you can really mix you can do Skelly Spam. You can put a few of these guys to basically be grenades, which are going to go off in the front line. And you have a few scary-ass buffed up Oreopata running around and a huge swath of skeletons just pouring forward. That's my idea of how this is going to play out. But for that to work, you need a Poison Bless. So here we go. Minor Major Poison Resistance also is going to enable things like powerful Foul Vapors traps. Very powerful Foul Vapors traps. And then we're going to go ahead. Oh, wait, we didn't finish for death. Withering Weapons. Right, so now if we're not very killy, right? We're mostly kind of defense-oriented. But a lot of things we'll be able to slowly work our way through with Withering Weapons. Oh, we didn't talk about this. I think we'll do... now, you could make the argument for Solar Weapons. What would the argument for that be? If we're fighting a lot of undead, I don't think we're going to be fighting them. Or really low armored stuff. That's not the stuff I'm worried about. So we're going to go ahead and pick up Magic Resistance. Major Magic Resistance. Now, if you want to save a point on the Bless, you take this down to 3, only get 1 MR. And then the other one, like Arcane Command, which isn't going to matter. The MR is nice when you're going against thugs and stuff with Vine Shields. And we do have a couple Elf nations that may end up showing some Vine Shields off. So it's going to be useful for that. I don't think there are a ton of MR nations where, like, so this is a not super valuable pickup here, the Magic Resistance. Not that I can think of anyway. But there's a few kind of weird, subtle things where Magic Resistance will still help, like Vine Shields and things like that. But the nations in the game, I'm not thinking this is going to be super valuable. And we could scrap it and, like, get rid of this and then do higher death and... Because right now we have to have some Astral if we want to do... Let's see what this would look like. We could basically get rid of this and then kick these up. And then get something like Low Light Vision instead of Spirit Sight. And then down here we could get Blood Surge instead of Strength of the Flesh. Which... I think in our case... I mean, Blood Surge is nice. Because that the defense and the attack is really nice. And the reinvigoration is nice, especially on thugs. But Strength of Flesh is going to help us. Like, if people are sending like a Neefle Jarl at us that has a ton of protection, we're not going to get a chance for Blood Surge to trigger. You know? Like, it's going to be me. Like, versus Super Combatant, Blood Surge doesn't matter at all. But Strength of Flesh does matter. So, and like versus very like crazy ass Sacreds, you're not going to be killing crazy ass Sacreds easily with Blood Surge. So it's not going to be procced. But Strength of the Flesh will be procced for Oreopata. So the things we're already good against, Blood Surge will make us better. But the things we're not that good against, the Strength of Flesh is going to make us better. And I would rather get things that are going to make me better against things I'm already not good against. If that makes sense. At least a bit. So, but yeah, you could get this. If we didn't get any Astral. And then we could knock down Death 1. And so that would save you basically like a scale if you went this instead of what I'm actually going to do. And so I'll flash up probably the Pretender I put up, but I still have to make decisions about... I have to make decisions about whether we do Swiftness or... If I can find it. Swiftness or Major Shock Resistance based on the nations in the game. Wait, this is only 5. I thought I had... No, I think I got this one. No, I don't do this one. Okay, maybe I do only do 5. It would be nice to have 6 Dominion, but maybe... And I'm probably going to go back and do another draft of this. Because 5 means you basically get 1 mage out of your cap. And then 4 Oreopata, which is not a lot. So you get like 25% more Oreopata if you just bump this up to 6. So there's a case to be made for that. Ultimately, though, the strength of this nation is not the Oreopata. The strength of this nation is like a few Oreopata with warrior sorceresses and the mages. So, I don't know. I'm okay with this. But, this is a pretty expensive bless. Obviously, you can see it's pretty long. We picked the gray one, so they're a trinity. They get split up in a kind of odd way. I forget all the paths. I think blood and all of them are going to get death and water, but varying degrees. They're basically going to be 2 or 3 death and 2 or 3 water with this particular setup I have. One of them I think is going to get nature blood. Another one is going to get like I don't remember, fire astral, and then the other one's going to get like air and earth. I forget the exact combination. It says down here fire and earth go together, so one will be water, death, fire, earth. The other one's going to be air, astral, I think. Yeah, so they're pretty useful. You can twice born them, and then you can do 3 things with your god when they finally come out. So we'll have some fun with that. We'll probably twice born, and then we don't have a huge amount of magic diversity on our nation, so certainly like, the air astral one, we'll have her zipping around with the army. The earth fire one will be able to do things that otherwise we can't do. And the nature blood one, which might otherwise be useless, we might try to transform and see if we get a good chassis, but in all likelihood we'll probably feeble mind ourselves or something. But we've taken luck 3, which is probably a bit controversial. I think it's a better income scale than these 2. And the fact that we're not taking turmoil doesn't really matter. Like, luck 3 is still good. We could sack it and get more of these, or better Dominion, and we would have more Oreopata at the beginning. And this is a blitz, so like it's good to do greedy things, or not greedy. It's good to be ready to brawl. And we're being a little greedy by taking imprisoned, but most nations will probably smack the shit out of them with their sacreds. Not really because of this, because a lot of this doesn't exactly matter. Like spirit sites. Like, okay, let's look. This is going to be good basically the whole game. Defense is going to be good the whole game. This is probably going to matter. Like, some of these will matter for their first war. Like Nephil Giants, this will matter a ton. Fire, this will matter a lot for Sapicia. But not always, right? So it's situational, but matters. This is going to matter a lot because we can mix in Hydras at the very beginning. And if you want to try running at me when I put like 2 or 3 Hydras in my army mixed in with Oreopata, forget about it. You may kill me, but it's not going to be pretty for you afterwards. And then, the Withering Weapons and then Hydras mixed in. Yeah, it's going to be brutal. So, this is the build. Are there other ways to do it? Yeah. You could just go, something mindless, and, you don't have good earth and you don't have high astral, so you are a nation that would appreciate, like, if you want to play, like, these are perfect scales just about. I think I would probably take Magic 1 and sack one of these, like, if I were to edit this. But yeah, I would say this would be okay. You basically are going to do Scales expansion if you pick this as a bless, because your sacreds aren't going to be anything super special. But this will be nice for thugging. The reinvigoration is going to be nice. The MR is going to be nice. And then this is going to give you Earth Astral, which your nation doesn't really have very great access to. In fact, Earth is one of the things you don't even get with luck. So you'll get air with your national heroes, but this will... Anyway, you'll have basically all the magic path access by the late game. Well, not fire. not fire. But otherwise, you'll have about everything. And then this guy's going to be able, with the crystal coin, to climb up astral. So, what I expect you'll see in Sauromancer games, what I'll see in this one is we're probably going to have a ton of astral and not know what to do with it, because we have a bunch of S1s. But S1s have trouble spending pearls, but they're pretty good at finding them with the arcane probing and such. So, I have no idea. We're probably going to end up alchemizing a lot of ours, but if you have high astral, you can at least do rings of sorcery and things like that to fix some of your magic path issues. I would probably consider something like this in like a multiplayer game, like a Discord long form or Llama server long form game. It might be a bit better if the game goes really long, because you don't really need a lot of things on the bless. Like the Oreopoda, basically you have elemental fortitude to fix some of your basic resistance things. So like, I have cold resistance. Do I need it? Well, I can't use these guys versus Neefle Giants very well unless I have it, but I can use these guys. And the more the game goes on, the more I'm going to be relying on warrior sorceresses than I am on Oreopoda. And then, on my mages. So, I think there's a strong argument to be made for pure scales. Do you need an expander? If you watch my channel, I'm not a huge expander fan. I think if you're like a newer player and you're joining a multiplayer game and you haven't figured out expansion, it's pretty good. In a blitz, it's better because, like the fewer the number of players there are in the game, the better expanders are, because they're going to ensure you get more of the land at the very beginning. And the Diplo is normally such that, I don't know, the fewer players, the more quickly things can swing in your favor. So like an early advantage you get through having an expander, getting some outrageous number of provinces at the beginning, it's not going to come back and bite you the same way it will in a bigger game where there's a lot more players to kind of group up against you. So maybe, yeah. So anyway, when should we take an expander? Maybe if you're in like a really small game with like 6 players or something, I would definitely consider taking an expander with these guys. You'd want to take an expander probably that helps with the bless and maybe get something kind of cool and incarnate. I'm not really sure what that would be. On one hand, like a lot of the astral stuff would be really cool, but you can do a lot of the astral stuff point blessing, so I feel like that's kind of wasted. Regen would be not bad, but again, you can point cast that. So I don't know. I'd have to think more about what I'd do for an expander, but I mean, clearly you can get one. I think it's we are doing a blitz, so there's an argument for it, but I don't think we're gonna need it. And if people run at me with their expanders, well, we've got Oreopoda and warrior sorceresses who I can throw on all sorts of devious one-handed weapons, which hopefully I get reasonably early, which will make very quick work of some scary expander. So anyway, we will see how it goes. In all likelihood, people group up on me and kill me. Just kidding. Sort of. But we'll see. What I'm most worried about is stupid Einherrs from Vanheim. Einherrs are so annoying. So hopefully he does something like a resistance bless or something like that, and not something that is extremely annoying like... Where's my Vanheim? Wait, do I not have it? Apparently I deleted it, but anyway, if you pick... We'll do it real quick. Bonus content. If you pick Vanheim, and you get something that is as annoying as this... 160 or 160. We'll take Immersil. Bloodbond Berserker. You might be like, why would you get this on Vanheim? They already have Berserk. Well, they can have more Berserk. And the Einhairs, they go up to +7 Berserk, which means when they get hit, they get +7 attack, and then they get +7 damage. I mean, 5 is already a lot, but 7 is even more, if you didn't know basic math. And then importantly, they also get 2 more protection. So don't think of this as Berserk. Think of this as +2 protection, +2 attack, and +2 damage. The cost of defense, which you don't give a shit about because your protection's really high. And then Blood Bond, which makes them all go very angry at the same time. This would be a travesty, and also very hard to kill. This would be an absolute travesty for me to fight. And I was testing a little bit against it, because you don't want to have a build where somebody runs at you with these very angry Einhairs, and you just have nothing you can do. So this was, I think, the scariest thing when I was kind of conceptualizing how early game could go, but but we'll see. Anyway. But I mean, Abyssia can actually do very similar things to that. So there's multiple ways we could have very angry Berserkers. But I think that is it, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. I hope you've learned something, and I will see you next time.